Hi, I am Enrico Acerbi, and I am looking. No enemies here.
Well, the big news around the world, in the wargaming world, is that U-Boat swept the CSRs. Man! So, congratulations to the designers of U-Boat and Phalanx. And I was checking out some feedback on BGG concerning the CSR awards. A lot of interesting stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are very opinionated, which is cool. And it was our first one. Hopefully, I can do it again next year. And we'll be discussing how to improve it, how to make it a little bit shorter. I find 2.5 hours is long, but I mean, there was a lot of categories. We're also going to discuss what categories should not be there. If there's a category with only one nominee, should we post it? You know, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not going to be deciding all this. These are just suggestions I might have when we do have a closeout meeting. But hey, it went good. I appreciate all the thanks you guys gave me. And again, congratulations to U-Boat, the board game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the... Seriously, music is everything. It's that time of the year, people. Grognard time of the year, that is. So you have all of November. And you know what? All of November and all of December. And the winner, or winners, are going to be tallied by me, by moi, in January. So I'll say what? Within the first 2 weeks. And that's a promise. Right? Unless something ridiculous happens, right? So, vote for your favorite reviewer, favorite designer, and it's one vote, eh? So you either vote for your favorite reviewer, designer, company. A company can be Grognard of the Year. Writer, artist, and who you deem to be the exalted Grognard of 2020. All right. And as always, I'm exempt. Conflict of interest. Nepotism doesn't work here. Not at this moment. But anyways, vote. Don't make me come and get you. Leave it in the comments below. 1 vote per person. I know who you are. Ain't none of that gonna happen on this show. It's my show.
This is Kilroy was here with a special request from No Enemies Here to pick a game of the week. And I thought I'd start with Here I Stand, Wars of the Reformation, 1517 to 1555. Why? Because I'm filming this on October 31st, and on October 31st, 1517, Martin Luther nailed his 95 Thesis to the church door in protest, with starting the Protestant Reformation. So let's get to this game. It is point to point. So very familiar to point games. They are card driven. So you have point values that allow you to do your actions based on the number of points that you get or play through the cards. And then there are historical events that give you flavor for the period and move kind of a narrative forward in this game. So this is a point-to-point game, card-driven. It's not your dad's point-to-point game though. This is a little bit more complex than your typical point-to-point games like Paths of Glory or Napoleonic Wars and things of that ilk. The rule book is 44 pages long. There's a record sheet on back. It looks relatively dense, small print, not a lot of pictures and no color. But don't let that scare you. Again, at its core, it is a card-driven game with point-to-point aspect. What is different about this game is that it is somewhat asymmetrical in that some of the factions, which you play up to 6, kind of have different ways or different focuses that they're working on. Your factions that you get or that can play are France, England, Habsburgs, Ottoman, Papacy, and Protestant. And in that regard, the Protestants are, trying to establish their movement in the religion and spread throughout Europe. The Papacy is trying to stave that off. England and France are doing their typical world domination machinations, which actually includes, a new world map where you can get discoveries and victory points for that, or get new world riches. So it has somewhat of a global feel to that. Then you have the Habsburgs and the Ottomans, playing their role. There's also a full diplomatic process to this game. So is it a war game? Yeah, there's some war elements and there's military units, but it's more of a historical simulation. And I would recommend this for people that really are interested in this topic, know something about this topic, or want to learn something more about this time period. It's a very rich and fulfilling experience. And I would recommend also that you try to find 6 people to play all factions. You get a much better experience that way. It's also a longer game. So I would not recommend this for people just starting out with war games or people just starting out with card-driven games. I would kind of go to one of the other card-driven games, or even maybe Twilight Struggle to start out with before you kind of dive into something like this. So that's my game of the week. I hope you enjoy. Have a good day.
Hello, this is Riccardo Masini, and this week's greatest day in history and games is November 3, 1535, the day when the most diverse proceeding in the history of law gave way to no less than a religious schism in Western Europe. The protagonist of all this is a really peculiar monarch, not famous for his continence and restraint, King Henry VIII of England. Now, King Henry had a problem, and that problem was his wife, Catherine of Aragon. The problem was twofold. On a political level, Catherine had not given him a male heir, which could lead to a very dangerous succession crisis in a country that not too long ago had endured the devastations of the Wars of the Roses. On a much simpler personal level, Henry VIII had a mistress, Anne Boleyn, and unlike how every other sensible monarch dealt with mistresses, that is, freely carry on with the liaison but on strictly informal terms, Henry wanted to marry her. So King Henry asked Pope Clement VII an act that was not so unusual at the time, the annulment of a royal marriage. King Henry's argument was made on strictly canonical law ground. Prior to the marriage, Catherine had been betrothed to Henry's brother Arthur, but Arthur had died before the two could live together as husband and wife, and as a consequence, Henry, a sincerely religious person, feared for his soul. Also, Pope Clement VII replied that previous impediment had already been dispensed. So, for the Church, the marriage between the English king and his queen was fully valid and effective. But canonic law was not the issue, at least not as much as international politics. Catherine was the aunt of the Habsburg Emperor Charles V. The Pope still remembered the humiliation of the sack of Rome of 1527 by imperial mercenary troops and did not want to offend the Emperor. The Pope believed that King Henry, who had been nominated Defensor Fidei by Pope Leo V in 1521, would not abandon the Catholic Church and carry on the struggle against the Lutheran Protestant heresy. But Henry was not cooperative in this. He began to support the growing discontent of the English people and clergy against the Roman Church, and in 1535 he finally issued the Act of Supremacy. From now on, English kings would be the only heads of the Church of England, thoroughly separated from the Church of Rome. The Anglican Church was born, and the long series of King Henry's wives had just started. King Henry also made it clear that this was a personal royal act. It had not been issued by the Parliament, and so only the king himself could revoke it. After the passing of the Treasons Act, every attempt to oppose or even criticize the act was to be considered a crime against the crown, to be punished with death. Philosopher and political leader Thomas More was one of the first and most famous victims. After the death of the king, the Act of Supremacy was briefly cancelled by Henry's Catholic daughter Mary, but the new Queen Elizabeth I immediately renewed it. The Anglican schism was permanent. Now, as you may have figured out, all this crisis has to be considered inside the complicated political and religious scenario of early 16th century Europe, and it is just a small part of the majestic historical game that is Here I Stand by GMT Games. Through classical CDG mechanics coupled with diffused asymmetries and great detail, Here I Stand provides a very convincing rendition of the diplomatic intrigue, military confrontations and religious unrest of the period. The players will have to form uneasy alliances and carry on through able maneuvers, subtle threats and constant backstabbing in the interest of the 6 playable factions, each represented with its own set of special rules: England, the Habsburg Empire, France, the Ottoman Empire, the Papacy and the Protestants. A quite complex but not complicated game, Here I Stand is a simulation with deep historical content and great player interaction. Oh, and it also has a specific table depicting the happiness of the current marriage of King Henry. So, that's it for this week. See you on the next Battlefields. Ciao!
Rock and Roll Publishing and Trial of Strength 2nd Edition. This is an Eastern Front strategic game set during World War II by designer Dave O'Connor. Each hex is 45 miles from side to side. Each turn represents 10 days with 3 turns per month. Units are generally core of the Axis and armies for the Soviet Union, both about 60,000 troops each. You see, I have a moral issue with that. And I know Mo said, get over it. It's cardboard. But each piece of cardboard, Mo, has 60,000 lives. That's why I'm more of a tactical guy. I could take out one guy, but I don't think I could take out 60,000 in a swoosh. But anyways, and what you get with this game is one color map, 41 by 61, cut into 3 pieces, so it's huge. 880 plus counters on 10 counter sheets. It's lock and load. What do you expect? A color book, rule booklet, examples of play, 6 player 8 cards, 11 by 17, 4 other player 8 cards, 8 by 11, 2 10-sided dice, and 1 heavy-duty box, plus 2 D10s. And check this out, that's the OG, man, in all his beautiful panzer self. Heroes, Roads to Stalingrad. This is a module for the Lock and Load Tactical Series. And what you get with this game, you get 7 geomorphic 8.25 by 12.75 maps, 5 counter sheets, that's about 500 counters, what can I say, it's Lock and Load Publishing, a rule book, 2 player 8 cards, 7 other player 8 cards, heavy duty box, and 2 D6. Heroes of Grenada. Heroes of Grenada brings to life this conflict between, or with, U.S. Marines, Rangers, and SEALs, supported by AC-130Hs, face off against the Grenadian military and Cuban troops. They didn't stand a chance. But what you get with this game, and I have no pictures for this, I'll have to speak to David about that. 12 geomorphic maps, 3 counter sheets, 500, like I said, lock and load. 1 color module rules scenario booklet with 12 scenarios, 2 player 8 cards, another 5 player 8 cards of different size, a heavy duty box, and 2 D6. Tony of Tony's Board Life is checking out or continuing Liberty or Death Part 10. This is a live stream. And Riccardo Massini's Warlog 54 Versailles 1919, a game by Jeff Engelstein and Mark Herman, published by GMT. Kevin of the Big Board takes a look at Iron Curtain Central Europe 1945 to 1989, a game by MMP. Swords and Wargamer takes a look at SPQR from GMT. Mo of Mo's Game Table takes a look at BattleTech Clan Invasion box. He also looks at David Thompson's For What Remains, Blood on the Rails, published by DVG. Hefner of War Games, Wardy Robe, has a bunch of videos out, the first one being a shout out to Hex, and also a Fistful of Lead Bigger Battles. This is an after action report. Plus he gets into his bolt action live D-Day middle game that's 15 millimeters, I should say, and Hell's Highway Historic Survey 82nd Airborne. Then he does a light test, live bolt action D-Day Beach Turn 5, and a quick recap and link to Fistful of Lead games. And the winners of the Charles S. Robert Awards for Best Review YouTube channel, The Player's Aid. They review Warfighter World War II, the Undead expansion from DVG. Also unboxing Command & Colors Tricorn, Jacobite Rising from Compass Games, and they discuss Halloween war games, but mostly board games. Seek Out and Play has an interesting couple of videos out. It's a playthrough of Attack of the Mutants. Wayne Hansen unboxes Against the Odds Annual 2018 Sea Monsters. He also does a playthrough of Tom Russell's design and HOLLANDSPIELE's publishing of Aurelian, Restorer of the World. Voynek TV number 476 takes a look at Nemesis, Burma 1944. And on episode 477, he takes a look at Under Falling Skies. It's an unboxing of a Czech game. In episode 478, he takes a look at Les Jeux de Griffons, La Route de la Mort. And GIMPY of the GIMPY Gamer does a 5-minute preview of soldiers in postman uniforms. This is a new David Thompson game. Plus, he continues his review through part 6 of Ager Sanguinis. And Robert Carroll of Kilroy Was Here is also unboxing Sea Monsters, 4 naval war games from the Against the Odds magazine annual 2018. And Stephen Dolges takes a look at The Great Crisis of Frederick II. This is a review of a VUCA simulation game. Olin's Triumph is taking a look at. Actually, he's giving us a video of what's on the table for late October 2020. And Harebrained Games, Tim, one of the Allman Brothers that the Allman Brothers didn't want to talk about, talks about his weekend games.
Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to the Centurions review, the punk rock band of war game review institutions. First game we're reviewing on our website is the Big Red One from SPI. It was originally published as the Bulge, and they changed the name later to the Big Red One to try and make money off that movie. But the game itself, well, it's not a very good Battle of the Bulge game, though. There's better ones out there. I personally didn't like the game that much. As a generic World War II game, it's probably alright, but as a Battle of the Bulge game, it fails. But watch the review to see why. First game we're doing a first look at on our YouTube channel is Rescue from the Hive from Ares Magazine number 7. This is the game where you are Space Marines who have to rescue an ambassador and his daughter who were kidnapped by the alien Xenons. They're like an insectoid race. It's kind of an interesting game. You start out by paying for your force with points, and so does the Xenon player. And then as you're traveling to the ship can shoot at your drop pods. And once you're on the ship, you choose to either rescue the hostages or just to do a punitive raid, and the Xenon player doesn't know which of the two you're doing, so they don't know what your victory conditions are. And anyhow, when you leave the ship, either with or without the hostages, depending on whether you blew up any of the laser pods or not, determines if you get fired at by lasers when you're leaving or not. And the ship, one other thing with this game, the ship can go into hyperspace, and if you're forces are on the ship and haven't left yet, they're automatically considered eliminated. So you can destroy engines on the ship to either, if you destroy one, you'll delay the hyperspace by 2 turns, or if you destroy both, it will never go into hyperspace. But it's an interesting game. I'll review it probably in a couple weeks. Alright, and here is one we did a first look at. This is my friend Len's game. This is a Panzer Grenadier game, Airborne. It's about U.S. airborne operations in Normandy from 1944. What's different about this than some of the other Panzer Grenadier games is this has a mounted map. It's a small mounted map, but a mounted map nevertheless. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon on our website and on our YouTube channel. Have a good evening.
Combat board games, and looking at Target for tonight. But it's not the game you think that it is. It's a different game. Dad vs. Son is continuing part 5 of the Tri-Pack Battles of the American Revolution by GMT. Compass Games are taking a look at The Conquistadors, and it's a playthrough, a game by John Southard. The man famously known as Calandale, Enrico Viglino, is giving us a review of his Invasions game. Also, he's wrapping it up, and another video of Fall of Rome intro. The guys at Little Wars TV are doing a 3D printing of Berlin in 1945. And the chief of Bonding with Board Games is unboxing Target for Today from Legion War Games. My own worst enemy from Armchair Dragoons is taking a look at a combat boots game from Dark City called Operation Battle Axe. The man who goes by the name of Jeff is doing a playthrough of Search for Planet X, the solo playthrough. Show episode number 114, where they discuss new releases at HOLLANDSPIELE, their mustard years, cards and cash flow, flooding in the basement, bagging wood bits, and the vote sample game video, and editing styles. Mauro Faina and his Gianni Zero Nero, he takes a look at Great War Commander. Harold Buchanan San Diego Historical Games Convention is online for 2020, November 13th to 15th. Registration is open now. Another week, another show. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and comment below. You're gonna comment, eh? It's the Grognard of the year. So leave your comments below. One choice, whatever. You want to make a game company Grognard of the year? Go ahead. You want to make a designer? Go ahead. You want to make a reviewer? Go ahead. You want to make the best pizza place in town? Go ahead. So that's it. I'll see you next week. Please support this channel, it helps. And happy voting in many ways. week we went to Italy. That's why we didn't have a show. And we came back and we went to visit my uncle Tsitsi Steven. Why is he called Steven? It's spelled with a P-H, Stefan. It's stupid. And we also met up with cousin Chancino. He wanted to play his favorite game, Space Infantry. And this game was designed by possibly the two most coolest names in the world. The first one being Gottardo Zancani, and the second one being Blackwell Herd. Best names, best names. Can't beat the name Paw. Space Infantry by Lock and Load Publishing is a huge game. It's space infantry, meaning you're fighting in space. Anyways, you go to planets, right? And you take out the bugs. Eek! Because bugs are bad. Yeah, it's a huge game. Plus it's got a huge expansion. And it's got a lot of different things. Yeah. Wow, you're really selling that good, eh? Huge, different things? Huh? Please, tell us more. Thanks, Paul, I will. If I start telling you what's inside this box, we're never gonna finish this video. Eek! Excuse me. You get cards, like tons and tons of cards. Let me show you some cards. So first what you have to do is you have to pick your mission, and with a mission comes a map. So you would start here in this green space, and there are 2 roads that you can take. Each road offers a different possibilities of meeting aliens, good things, bad things. You can find med kits, armaments, stuff like that, but you're gonna be in trouble. So you're a captain of the squad. To help you with the trouble, you got your squads, right? And they have their accessories, which help if you need a doctor, if you need an intel guy, if you want to blow up something. You know what I'm saying? I don't see any bugs. Look in the mirror. These are just some of the enemies you're going to encounter, like the Cybers, the Behemoth with their stats, and the Mercenaries, the Assault with their stats. And look, the mutant hybrids. These are captains, and they got their minions. You get 116 creatures, plus 20 missions, and on each mission, there are nodes, and that's interchangeable. And you know how many nodes you get? Lots! Thanks for being specific, and God help you if you get this creature. Space Infantry Resurgence, plus the expansion, which I'm probably going to talk about later on, but Lock and Load Publishing. Go check it out on their website.